So apparently Dressed to Impress is a gatekeeping issue, which I think is no surprise to a lot of people because, trust me, I get there's some people in the Dressed to Impress community that are very, very nice, but from the sliver of times that I played that game, I have been scared off by the toxicity of players in the lobbies to not really playing it that much. And to be fair, when it first came out, I grinded that game and I really enjoyed it. And then once it became a little bit more mainstream and there's like Dressed to Impress influencers and like people competing and calling people like basic and what it's like the barb thing, like local, I don't even know, but it became like quite literally a bullying cesspool anytime I was in a server, and it just made me scared. And so to be honest, I ran away. And I think a lot of people maybe have a shared experience. I'm not grouping all Dressed to Impress players in the same umbrella of being toxic, because that's not the case, because I play the game and I'm not toxic to people when I play it. But there is obviously some bad apples in the community that make it kind of terrible for everybody and make the game really toxic. And unfortunately, that just kind of ends up what the game is known for, and it really sucks because I think it's actually a pretty decent game. Now, with that in mind, I guess recently there's been a lot of conversations about people complaining about people in Dressed to Impress gatekeeping items, and more specifically, I guess, Dressed to Impress YouTubers getting upset that old items are being returned to the game. I don't know, but we're gonna get into it today, and in my opinion, I think this is honestly such a silly thing to be upset about. And anytime I say that, people are like, "Pommy, you're not listening to the way I feel. You're being mean, Pommy." In the wise words of the Kardashians, Kim, people are dying.
Urine came off in the ocean and it's gone.
Kim, there's people that are dying.
Basically, guys, I understand it upsets you, but at the end of the day, Dressed to Impress limited edition items, you'll survive. Okay, you'll survive if somebody else has the same item. Trust me, life will go on. But anyways, we're going to be reading this post as well as some comments because it gets kind of spicy. And keep in mind, this post, I have tried reading it a couple times, and there are some parts where the English is a little bit wonky, so I might stutter a little bit, but let's get into it. It reads, Outfit plus rant about gatekeeping items. More and more people start to whine about return of old quest items, at least on YouTube, and I do want to speak about it since people should understand one thing. Dressed to Impress is not a shooting or action game where if you missed it once, you won't be able to get it back. My point is, gatekeeping in any game that includes creativity is the worst and stupidest thing ever. I agree. This game is about showing your creativity and to create new things, not just aimlessly walk here and there, run away from someone, and etc. And of course, show off your rare items. Limiting items is cutting off many creative possibilities to create. But every game should have limited items, yes and no. Many games nowadays return old skins or other in-game items. Yes, it will be long wait, but it still returns once in a while. So does Dressed to Impress do, not to mention that they already have limited items that will never return, like Gaga and Brat's items due to copyright issues. Hunt Dress, maybe, but they also might return it. A lot of people complained that the mermaid tail from last year was much easier to obtain this year, and here they return their broken quest that you should complete to get items just like last year, so this time everyone got the same experience in getting this item. Dressed to Impress with every issue is still a dress-up game where you let your imagination wander and show creativity, let people have as many items as it is possible. It's not about having rare items in your closet that you won't use, but still will gatekeep because they are, quote, rare. This is something I've seen a lot, and I understand people wanting to gatekeep rare items when there's a rarity system to a game, but when it's a game, and I think this is, in my opinion, just one of the very many tactics that Dressed to Impress uses to make money, which I can't fault them for that. Games have to make money. They gotta make that bank, and they have a lot of people to pay, so I'm not demonizing them for that. But I think introducing limited time items really does create the sense of urgency for players, and will encourage them to spend money on ranks to level up faster to get certain items, example in the Battle Pass sort of thing that Dressed to Impress has. And unfortunately, it creates kind of an unfair environment where players are incredibly toxic, and it really does promote like a toxic kind of, you know, competition sort of thing where players feel like they have to be in the game for a certain amount of time to get these really rare items, and then certain players think they're better than other players because they have limited edition items and you're not like an OG, so you don't own this item. And I find a lot of people use the items they own as like some sort of like justification for being mean to new players by calling their outfits trash because they don't have the OG items. Which, like, what are you, 5? Probably. Actually, probably. I think anybody who behaves that way is probably not in middle school. This comment, which was a reply to that one, says, I think the only reasonable complaint about returning items would be if they changed the way to obtain them and made it easier. Then I understand the issue, but to be honest, in item returns and you have to go through the same process to get them, that I don't see any valid reason as to why people would get upset. I agree. Why do you care if they have the same thing that comes on the very next year to get the same exact item if it isn't easier? I always see people being like, oh, well, I spent so much of my time getting the item last year because it's supposed to be limited edition. Now it's back. Like, this is so unfair. Why? if you're good at dressing up, and maybe this is like really controversial, but if you're good at dressing up in a dress up game and you got a good eye and attention for detail, it shouldn't matter if somebody else has the same skirt as you. That's not gonna make or break the outfit, you know what I mean? And I honestly do think that Dress to Impress, like the whole concept of like VIP items, okay, understandable. But like the concept where you have to join certain events to get certain limited edition items is honestly just like a tactic to get people to join their events more and to get people to play the game more and to spend money on the game. Which obviously that's any Roblox game, that's how games work. But you know, I do think that it's a little bit unfair to have certain items only be around at certain times because it creates a sense of urgency for players, and in my opinion, it creates a sort of addiction to the game where players are constantly going back to the game because they don't want to miss out on this limited edition item. And I think, now correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the game has been pretty clear about items being like limited edition or like a one-time thing or like a seasonal thing. And when I missed the mermaid tail when it first came out, I was super disappointed, and now to hear that it came back, it's honestly just kind of confusing because I was under the impression it was never coming back, and I feel like maybe that could have been information that they would share. But obviously it's a marketing tactic. They want people to play the game, but I do think it creates an environment where kids are likely to get addicted to the game because they are so obsessed with not missing out on an item. Now this is another post that was made on Reddit, and it reads, "I'm so sad I missed a lot of the event items. I think it would be cool if the devs would bring back old event items. Example, next Halloween they could be a way to buy the old stuff in the Halloween events, even the code items, but with the game money instead of getting them for free with codes, so they can release new stuff plus sell old items. But we could like buy them only at specific moments like Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's Day, etc. Sorry for the bad English, I'm French. I need to know what you guys think." And then they replied to the comment later after getting some feedback. But the comment section under this, there was one person who was really mad. He goes, "Look, I will stand by this forever. They shouldn't bring back old items. They were exclusive for a reason. You missed it. You missed it." I'm sorry, but this is like giving like cool girl on the playground. It's like, no, you can't sit with us. It's giving Regina George. Why are you so like aggressive? Like, calm down. It's not a big deal. Ma'am, your tone is making it seem like it's a big deal. You can still make amazing outfits if a code expires. It is expired. You couldn't get it anymore. I don't even have all the items. Would I like another mermaid tail? Yes. But I don't have it. I understand it was exclusive. But I do believe that certain specific items that are for the holiday, for example, the Santa hat, I think they should definitely come back every year on Christmas because it's pretty helpful for Christmas themes. So if there's any items that are specific for that holiday, like the Santa hat, it should come back and be around. But anything else, yeah, no, it's exclusive. That's it. My goodness, that was the longest sentence I think I've ever read in my entire life, and I almost passed out reading that. You don't really need those older exclusive items. They are not life-changing. I agree, they're not life-changing. They're not going to help your outfits be automatically better, and honestly, I think it's kind of unfair to people who did the quest and logged in daily for the Christmas advent calendar like you did all the work, but in the end, you could have just bought it. It feels kind of unfair in my opinion. Which I agree with this last part. They came on a little bit strong, but the last part, they're kind of spitting facts. I can understand both perspectives. And then this person replies, "But what you need to take into account is that not everyone was playing Dress to Impress, let alone knew about it during those times. It just started getting popular, so it would actually be more beneficial to the admin to add the old items back, bringing back more traction to the game. Furthermore, also making more money from VIPs and other clothes we buy in the store. I'm not saying add them for free, but at least give us the possibility of buying the older items in store when all the rest of the items they continue to keep on there have already been bought. Again, it's admin's choice." Low-key, this person should be a lawyer. They're like, "Furthermore," oh my goodness, such a fancy little paragraph. This person replies and said, "But then everyone just spent their time doing all that work, and in the end, you could have just bought it. That's unfair. Things are meant to be exclusive. If you missed it, you missed it. That's all I can say, and I don't know about Dress to Impress in the beginning. I didn't want to play at the beginning because I had my Dress to Impress phase." It's a tongue twister. "But with Fashion Famous, so I put it off for months. I only joined around late Brat update. Obviously, it's the dev's choice, but it would be a bad choice in my opinion." Valid criticism. I think that's valid. And this person responded. This is where it gets spicy. Like, these people are fighting. "Love, you're acting as if children spent months trying to obtain these items. It was 3 10-minute quests that was catered to children. There was no hard work that went into getting these items. It's more childish of you to hoard and gatekeep a bunch of pixels." Oh my goodness, this is why I don't go on Reddit or Twitter, because like stuff gets so messy so quickly over like what, like Dress to Impress items. But to be fair, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really do a lot of the quests because in my opinion, it just felt kind of like, I don't know. I just didn't like the vibe of it. I was like, yeah, I'm not participating in this. I'm gonna go watch a movie or something. And so I never actually ended up doing really any of them, except for the Bratz one. I remember doing that because the music was fire. But basically, I guess, you know, it doesn't sound like this was like some life-altering event. And I'm sure, you know, kids especially put in a lot of effort to get these items. So I'm not trying to sit here and downgrade the effort that you guys put into getting these items. But I feel like a lot of people are misrepresenting this as like you had to hike up the side of Mount Everest and like not eat for a week and like you couldn't sleep and your toes are freezing off. Like, ma'am, calm down. Calm down. You're on your crusty iPad, and I get it was hard, but it's not like you broke a world record. I think some people take this like incredibly seriously, and I feel like that's kind of what makes Dress to Impress kind of similar to some other Roblox games, difficult for new players to join because the community is very tight-knit and people are very opinionated, which rightfully so, you're entitled to your opinion, but I think it creates an environment where new players feel like they aren't welcomed, which I think in the long term, in the long run, will negatively impact the game. Now that person replies again. It's kind of childish you would comment on a comment that was months ago. Who does that? This conversation was like months ago. It's over and done with, but actually some people did take months to obtain those items because of lag and just being bad at obbies. Also, I did not think those quests were catered to children because the first quest was definitely not for children. I'm honest, I don't know what they're talking. I don't know which first quest they're talking about, but I'm sorry. If it takes you months to do an obby, I don't think the items are worth it to spend months doing that. That's just my opinion, but. And the person replies, I never understood the whole this comment is old. Okay, but some people read it just now. What does that actually change? Because your opinion is still the same probably. The post shows up in Google results. Also, to add to the convo, I don't see the problem with items coming back every year for a short amount of time. You still get the privilege of using them for a whole year over others that missed it. Maybe you could do old quests again instead of just buying them. And a person calling people childish not only has a I don't want to share my toys with anybody mentality and downvotes my response, lol. Why are you people so against quests coming back so people have a chance a whole year after? Doing new quests on top of the old ones would actually be more effort. There's a lot more to this thread. Oh my goodness. I'm not going to get into the whole thing. If you guys want to go look at it, I'm sure you search up Dress to Impress gatekeeping and it will come up because this is, I guess, like a big thread. But you know, I understand both sides of the argument. I do, and I try not to be too judgmental or like one side versus the other, even though it's a little bit hard to when one person on the other side is being really aggressive. It makes people not want to side with you when you're saying stuff very aggressively and honestly just being kind of mean in a Reddit thread. But I understand both perspectives. Obviously, people who've played the game for a long time, they want something to show for it. They want to be able to show that, hey, I'm an OG player, I've been supporting this game since day one, and I understand certain items should be kept for OGs. I agree with that, okay? But what I don't agree with, or maybe, hear me out, maybe there's like an OG badge or something like that, where you get a badge for being like a player who played during the first year, you get to flaunt that badge, maybe get a title in game that says OG, or I don't know, right? But I don't think gatekeeping stuff like example a mermaid tail or certain items that, you know, are really unique, example some of the Brat items that, you know, they're pretty iconic. I don't necessarily feel like it's fair for players to get upset with other players for wanting an opportunity to get those items, because at the end of the day, not everybody had access to their device, and sure, you could say, oh, well, you missed out on it, like that's your fault. Okay, fine. That's a valid argument. I can't, like, I guess, like, you missed out on it, sucks to suck. Is that what you want people to think? But my opinion is if you don't open up avenues for players to have a fair shot at getting the same items, I do think it will create friction between the community that is already pretty divided, and a lot of people are already pretty angry with each other. If you go to Dress to Impress TikTok, don't. That's all I have to say. When I was doing research for this video, I had not realized Dress to Impress beef was as serious as it is. But it honestly reminds me of the Hood, like TikTok beef from like 2020, and people are going at each other's throats, being like, "Oh my god, girl, your outfit's so ugly. How are you like such a high rank? Like you're so bad. You obviously farmed that. Like you got pity votes." Whoa, I'm not built for that kind of environment. Reading some of the comments made me sad. They weren't even about me. But you know, like, I understand players want to be unique and they want to have something to show that they supported the game before it was like a trend, and I can appreciate that. But at the same time, it's not fair to ostracize new players and tell them that they aren't deserving of the same items. Of course, every game will always have items that are just for OG players, but when items are like, not necessarily making or breaking your outfit, but when they're like really cool items, like example, the mermaid tail, I thought that item was really pretty. I think it's fair that it could come back potentially in an update. But I do agree with what one user said, that it shouldn't be easier. I think if you have the opportunity to get an item again, I think it should be the exact same way that you got it the first time. I feel like that's the only really fair way to do it, because if you allow players to just buy it, that's a pay to win kind of situation, and players obviously won't like that. But if you just give it out for free, players will also be upset, because at the end of the day, although it may not have been a massive amount of time, players did still spend time to collect the items and to get them. And I do think it would be a disservice to the community to just give stuff out for free. So, with that in mind, I understand both sides, but what I don't understand is the random nastiness in the community. You guys, if you want your game to survive and you want them to keep making updates, you can't chase everybody out of the community. You're scaring people, okay? I'm scared. I'm scared to play Trust and Press now. But honestly, let me know your guys' thoughts on this in the comment section below. Have you had an experience where a player was toxic towards you because you didn't have a certain item, or you wish you could have gotten an item and whatever else, or maybe you think players shouldn't have access to old items? Let me know. I'd love to learn your guys' perspectives, because at the end of the day, I only see a tiny snippet of this argument because this was a long thread, and I didn't want to bore you guys with a super long video, but I did think it'd be interesting to go over together. So anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye!